Hello everyone, welcome back. Coach Fury here as we continue with our LA Lakers or LA Waves playthrough to try and bring that championship back to Los Angeles. So we've obviously gone forward another month here, and we'll touch on how we've been getting on through December. Before I do that, what I thought I'd do is try and show you guys the trade screen menu. So as you know, in the previous episode of, I think it was, that we made a couple of trades. We obviously brought in the likes of Rudy Gobert and Louis Scholar to try and save some cap room and to try and get us a better player in the centre position. But interestingly, for this game, I thought I'd show you how the trade works and how it may be slightly different to the usual sort of PlayStation games or usual sort of manager games. So in your rosters section, you have a trade menu, and within here you can do any type of trade you want, really. So on your left hand side you have your team, and right hand side you can sort of look at any type of personnel and any type of franchise that you would like to try and make a move with. So if, for example, we look here on the right, we can sort of go to Philadelphia and see their roster. You can also see their picks as well. You can make trades for draft picks. On the left hand side we have ours, obviously. What's interesting with this is that a couple of things. You can move players into a trade block, and then what that does is it signals to the AI that person is available for trade, and they'll send you trade offers. I haven't done this yet initially with anyone, because I wanted to see how we got on with our current roster to see whether we needed to make any changes. And then on the right hand side, the AI can also add players to its trade block. As you can see here of Utah, George Hill is currently on their trade block, and it essentially makes you aware that hopefully you can try and get him because they're looking to actively move him. What's different about this game in comparison to other management games where you have sort of trading situations is that the AI can trade between itself as well. There has been an AI trade, and we will touch on that in a minute. But what I wanted to do was to show you sort of how you can have the interactions with the AI within this game. So in other games, you might have just the option to just force through trades if you wanted to. But for this, I've obviously had that switched off because I want to try and make it as realistic as possible. So for example, let's say we want to try and get George Hill here. We can move him in as a player for trade. And let's say, let's try and give them Mozgov because we just want to get rid of that cap room and for whatever reason. So what you have is it gives you the understanding of where you are in the salary cap situation. So obviously we're both under cap, so they can absorb Mozgov's contract, and we can obviously take Hill's back because we're giving away a lot more than we're receiving in terms of contract length. What it also gives you is it gives you this idea of a disadvantage, so you can sort of look to see where the teams have the advantage. Obviously, this trade would massively have our advantage because we're getting rid of some wasted salary really, and we're taking on George Hill. I think, if I remember rightly, he's on a expiring contract. So obviously the AI is probably not going to make this deal. But I just want to show you the interactions and sort of how you can try and see how it works. So if I hit the make trade button, obviously I can propose this trade, and you get an instant reply back. So what's great about this game is that you get a reply back. It tends to be fairly different depending on what you're trying to do. So it might be, for example, we're not willing to take the salary of X player, or we're not willing to lose our depth at the position. But this one obviously is a bit sarcastic in terms of they're not even going to look into this transaction. They're not interested in Mozgov, and they come back to them when we actually have a proper offer. And obviously if I was looking to get Hill, I'd start to repackage it my side and keep working away, which is what I did with the likes of Gobert and Scholar when I made those moves. But I thought it'd be interesting for you guys to see this screen, because when we get towards sort of late January, February, and we're looking towards that trade deadline, I'm probably going to run an episode where we'll go in and we'll just see whether we can try and make any moves if there's anything we want to do, because what you'll find is throughout the season is the AI will slowly put players on the block, depending on how they're doing. So for example, if the team's doing really, really well and they just want to make final little tweaks to try and get them that championship, then they'll have sort of a mindset set on that, and trying to get the odd personnel move. They'll be more open to moving things like first round picks to try and get that extra player or that extra bit of quality that they need. Likewise, if teams aren't doing as well and they're struggling, and they're looking like they're going into the lottery, and they may decide to do a full rebuild, which means that they'll put some of their veterans up on the trade block trying to get picks and hoping that they can make those moves to improve them in the longer term. So it will be interesting to see how it sort of plays out in January, sort of February time. Obviously now we've only sort of played 2 months. There's not a great deal in terms of people on the block. Interesting that Utah have already put someone on the block, but in terms of the other sort of teams, there's no one really there at the moment. They're all sort of, I guess, still waiting to see how they're going to do through this season, see whether they can claw it back into a playoff position, or whether they're looking like they're going to be struggling this year. So we'll look at this sort of later on in sort of probably late January, February time. We'll look to try to do an episode where we try and make some moves if we need to. But there has been, as I said, an AI trade already. Apart from our transaction that we made, there hasn't been any other movements apart from moving people down to the D League and back up and signing some free agents. But if we go back towards this sort of start of December, you'll see here there was a trade between the Portland Pioneers and the Denver Peaks, where the Pioneers moved Ed Davison's second round pick for Wilson Chandler, and we'll take a look at that, and let's just see how we think this is going to play out for both teams. So if we go straight into Denver, obviously they're sort of a 0.50 team, probably still trying to get into that playoff mix, and you can see quite instantly why they've made this transaction. So you can see they've got Jokic injured for a long period of time with a broken ankle, and they've got the likes of Stokes, on a slight injury, and also, in terms of their sort of front court, they'd be relying on Fareed and Nurkic to really hold the starting rotation. But in terms of the depth, they didn't have it because Jokic is out, and they weren't going to rely on Hernan Gomez here, probably to do that for them. So I can see why they've made this move. Obviously, Ed Davis has got himself injured straight away, but I can see the logic behind why they made that move. Obviously, Ed Davis is on a reasonable contract. He's someone who could probably hold down some minutes for them off the rotation. So it was a move that made sense. But for me, when we look at Portland, I think that they've won the trade initially. Obviously, if we look at Chandler, he is the better player in the deal. Probably why they had to package a second round pick to get him as well. And he's on an okay contract, but he has some good solid all round stats. So I think for me, if I was him, I'd put him probably as a 6th man. It looks like the AI has gone for that as well. They're thinking obviously that he can provide a bit of punch from the bench for them. And at 16 and 15, again they're probably looking at playoffs, and probably thinking that he'll just tip the edge in their favour throughout the season and give them the extra bit of zip that they need to get them in the playoff hunt, and perhaps hopefully a solid playoff position. So for now, I think that Portland on initial look up will win it. The interesting thing will be if Chandler can continue to provide some solid possessions and some solid bench play for them over the length of his contract, because obviously at 29 he's probably going to be in his peak years for those. So we'll see how it goes throughout the season, and perhaps when we come back towards the end of the season, we'll do a little bit of a review of some trades and see who has actually sort of won the trades between their AI. But for now, that's the only trade that has happened, besides our ones that we made initially very early on in the season. So if we go to our schedule, you'll see that if we look up here, we've sort of carried on that sort of middling 14 and 15, that just under 500 record. In terms of our conference, we're just outside there. The other two teams that made that trade, Denver and Portland, are just above us. So interesting to see how that they've made that. Obviously, with us just sitting around that point, but we're only sort of the one or two games off. Probably getting in a solid playoff position, which is great, because we've got a lot of young personnel, and like I said, this season's going to be a little bit of a let's wait and see what happens really. whether we sort of in this position towards trade deadline, we might want to try and make a couple of mini moves to perhaps try and improve our rotation a little bit. But so far, I'm really happy with how we've done the first 2 months of the season. And if we take a look at the schedule itself throughout December, we started off with New Orleans, and we got the win there, which is that's not the right one. Wait over 1 second. We might have to. Oh, we're in Portland. So forgot about that. You have to go back to your actual team and then go back to schedule. So I'm talking a load of rubbish. So we started off with Dallas, not with New Orleans, and we got the win there, which was really good. A pretty straightforward win for us. Russell, we touched on in the last episode. I'm still mulling over what to do with him, and I said throughout this month that I'd sort of see how it goes, and there may be a suggestion that we put Jose Calderon into the starting rotation, because Russell's shooting is just so hit and miss in them heavy minutes. It's not doing the team any good, him shooting like that, but we still managed to get the win here. Obviously Ingram's our star player at the moment, our rookie there, putting in some solid stats, 27 points, 4 assists and 6 rebounds, which is great. We then went and we got another win against Toronto, which was really good because they're in sort of the playoff hunt as well. And what made me laugh on this one was that obviously Russell had that poor shooting night against Dallas, and then he comes back and just hits 42 points. Absolutely destroyed Lowry in the backcourt. So maybe he's trying to prove a point there that he does deserve that starting position. And then we sort of went into Indiana, and we sort of went into a bit of a slump here. We lost obviously 3 sort of away games here on the road against three playoff teams. Indiana we struggled against shooting wise. Obviously Paul George just tore us apart here. So not too good for us. We then went in and we had a game against Philadelphia, who've been the sort of the surprise one for me this year. Look like they're going to be a solid playoff team in the East. And Embiid's just having a fantastic season, and he really it was a really good matchup with Gobert, but obviously he got the better of it in terms of offense. So we obviously lost that one. We then went sort of straight in, and we lost again to Washington, with John Wall just tearing D'Angelo Russell apart really, with some really good stats. 33 points, 16 assists and 9 rebounds is really good to get from a point guard off of just the 3 turnovers, which is excellent. But Russell obviously performed okay shooting wise. He just couldn't stop Wall really, to be honest with you. We then went in and we won the game against Milwaukee, who we touched on last time, sort of in draft mode really already, with the likes of Giannis out for the whole season, so they're obviously not playing very well. And we had a good game. Russell shot fairly well, 7-16. Still not great, but okay. He played really well. He obviously won the band player of the game with his stats. 8 assists off of 2 turnovers and 10 rebounds is excellent. But we had a solid game here, and one that I expect us to win, and it was a comfortable win in the end. We then went to Sacramento, who seemed to be a bit of one of our vices this year, and we lost again. Darren Collison just had a fantastic game again against Russell, and we didn't really have much of an answer. We played okay, we shot okay, but we started really badly. You can see here in the first quarter, allowing Sacramento to score 42 points. You just can't do that at this level, and expect to win the game. So we sort of then bounced back around. So we beat Phoenix by 2 points in a very close game, and Russell didn't shoot very well. Again, he limited us a lot in terms of that. His 4 turnovers probably cost us a little bit, but the rest of the starting rotation played okay. Lou Williams did really well from the bench for us, and we managed to sneak away there with the win. We then lost again to Sacramento. No surprise there. But interestingly, Cousins had the player of the game against us, and Collison still played very well. But interestingly, that Cousins sort of stepped up to the mark. And as I sort of touched on earlier, I sort of made the decision here to you can see here to bench Russell, and I felt that if we went with Jose Calderon, I felt that his traditional point guard play might be a bit more beneficial to the starting rotation, whereas Russell, I felt with his scoring impact, he might be able to give us a little bit more from the bench, which I felt we were lacking a little bit. And I kind of made the decision to split their minutes quite equally. Two reasons really. I felt Russell might be able to shoot a little bit better in limited minutes, which he has in this initial game. And I also wanted to see, if they had similar minutes, who really would be the better performer for us, who would really be the one who, perhaps might take us into that playoff hunt, rather than us sort of bubbling under, really. We then went into Minnesota, and we got a good win here. You can see here that Calderon played really well. Some good shooting, some good assist numbers. Russell from the bench did okay, but that's 6 turnovers. I mean, that's atrocious. But for us, what's really good is obviously Gobert still performing really well and had a really good night. 11 points, a double there, 11 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 blocks and 4 steals, which is excellent. So I was really pleased with us to get the win against Minnesota. Again, I did expect us to win. And then we went to New York and we got another win. Again, I expected that because New York are struggling this year. And interestingly, in sort of similar minutes, Russell performed probably better than the Calderon in this one. But Larry Nance Jr. has really stepped up to the plate against New York with some really good shooting numbers. So another good win there. We then went in and we bounced around a little bit towards the end of this month. We lost the game against Miami with Whiteside just dominating us inside. Gobert had a good night, but his shooting just wasn't good enough. He struggled against Whiteside, so that's an interesting one to see. Whiteside's probably one of the best centres in the league at the moment, so Gobert's got a little bit to go, to try and be one of the better ones, but he's showing good signs of it. Obviously Russell doing really well from us from the bench again, which I was really interested to see. We then went to Orlando and we got a good win there. Larry Nance Jr. again stepping up to the plate with some good points for us, which was really good to see. And again, Russell shooting fairly well from the bench, which is great. The likes of I haven't really touched on them too much, Ingram or Clarkson, but they've been sort of producing similar numbers throughout the month really. So that I haven't really got too much to comment. They've just been doing business as normal. They're probably our 2 most consistent players that we've got so far. We then lost to Memphis, which for me was a really disappointing one. Gasol just again one of the better centres in the league, but he had his way with Gobert, who just had a terrible night, fouling out pretty much in 17 minutes, which is not great, which probably cost us in this one. We then went to New Orleans and we got the win again, which was good. Gobert had a really good night against Davis. Again, a double-double, 13 points, 16 rebounds, which is really good. And then we finally finished up against Boston, who are probably one of the better East teams, and we struggled here. And a game I probably didn't expect us to win, but they pretty much dominated against us. We just had a terrible third quarter. You can see here with just 16 points that probably did cost us in the end, but it was a bit of a more or less a blowout for them. So that's how December's gone. Obviously we're 14 and 15 at the moment, and I've sort of stopped it just before the end of the month, just before, because we're up against Golden State, and for those of you who haven't seen the conference earlier, Golden State are the best team in the Western Conference this year, and as you'd kind of fully expect. So I really wanted to play this game through on this sim with you guys, just to see. I don't expect us to win this, but for me, I think it'd be really interesting to see how we do against Golden State, who are probably one of the championship favourites at this point. Obviously, they have a fantastic team, with likes of Curry, Thompson, Durant, and the likes of some really good support in Iguodala and Zaza there. So for me, I wanted to play this one through with you guys because I want to see how we do really. And you'll notice obviously the screen is slightly bigger size than normal, a little bit more zoomed out. That's because I think when we go into sort of the 2D mode, it sort of goes out to full screen. So I wanted to see all of the different options that are available and all the different stats that I see, and when I sort of play through these games. So we're going to sort of go straight in. I think before we sort of do that, actually, I think I'll keep the rotation as is. I think Jose Calderon in the backcourt will keep Russ off the bench, because I think he might be a little bit of an X factor for us if we do stand any chance of winning this game. But I think we'll keep it as is, because we've been doing okay, and let's see how we get on. This is going to be a really tough matchup. Obviously, I'm going to let the CPU just manage the rotation, because I've already said it in advance, and let's take a look. So obviously, Golden State have a very, very good team. I didn't even mention Green earlier, did I? But that starting five is terrifying. Curry obviously and Durant and Green are sort of their main stars, but we're really interested to see how we match up. I mean, for me, I think obviously Curry's going to probably be the better of the point guards. Clarkson, I think, might be able to get a bit of a matchup advantage against Thompson, so perhaps we could take advantage there. Be interesting to see how Ingram, our sort of rising star here in LA, does against one of the all-stars in Durant and one of the best players in the league. So it'd be interesting to see how he does. And I think obviously Green and Nance Jr. I think in terms of player profiles, probably Nance is a little bit more of a sort of fundamental player, whereas Green is a little bit more of a versatile player. So it'd be interesting to see how they do. And I think for us, the opportunity we have in this game, if we're to get anything out of it, is if we can, if Gobert can get something against Zaza here, if he can sort of get him into foul trouble and with his ability to draw fouls and sort of disorientate this rotation a little bit and perhaps make him go a little bit small ball, we might get something out of this. But let's see how we get on. So we'll put the game speed up to, let's put it up to about 9. Let's just make sure we haven't got anything on. No, and let's see how we get on. Obviously their bench is, we haven't even touched on that really, but Livingston's a good point guard. Iguodala's is an aging veteran, so is West, but they still have some really good ratings and can add something for them. And McGee's a bit of an unknown really. He can be good, he can be terrible. So it'd be tough for our bench, the likes of Russell, Mozgov, Williams. I think we if we can sort of push them a little bit, that we might get something there as well. But let's see how we get on. So opening tip off here, looks like we've got the opening basket, which is great to see, and we'll see how we progress here. But I think for us it's going to be about limiting the likes of Curry and Thompson and Durant to terrible shooting, which is easier said than done, because they all have some really good ability to shoot from pretty much anywhere on the court. It's going to be a tough one for us, but it looks like we've started pretty well. Just getting this opening sort of possession, we're going to put the speed up a little bit. Let's just see if we can get through this first half and see how we get on. It looks like we're matching them at the moment, but it looks like they're just starting to try and take that lead off of us. We're shooting pretty well, which is good to see at the moment, and we are sort of competing with them. So hopefully this is promising here. This first quarter we started well, which is great, because I think in some of the games where we've played some of the better playoff teams, we've started really badly and not really managed to match them up. But it looks like so far it's sharing buckets equally at the moment, which is good. Sort of closing into this first quarter, it looks like we're neck and neck with them. Possibly going into the second quarter as we are here. It looks like they might be stretching out a little bit here. Probably because we've put our bench in, perhaps, but it's bench against bench at the moment, so perhaps that's just what's winning it for them at the moment. Now they've sort of brought their starters back in. Hopefully we can sort of keep it tight going into the second half. They've managed to stretch out to 11-point lead now, which is not great, but I mean our rotation's just come back in, and it looks like they're stretching out their lead now. It looks like we're starting to struggle here a little bit. 13-point gap now, but 17 points now. I think for me, the thing is, this first half has been, it looks like where we've put in our sort of bench position, when we put them in, that sort of gave them that lead, and we haven't managed to recover from that. So obviously a 17-point deficit. Yeah, look at that. That's a terrible second quarter. 15 points. That's really not good at all. We've been shooting okay, but obviously they've been shooting a little bit better than us. Beyond the 3 as well, we've managed to shoot okay there actually. For me, I think it's been when the bench has come in, and perhaps that's something we might want to look at if we want to stay in this playoff hunt, is whether we might want to try and look and get some specialists in to try and improve that for us. So far, it looks like Clarkson's been playing well, but Durant 20 points in that first half. We haven't been able to keep him quiet, which has been the difference so far. But let's see how we get on. Whether we can put it back, I don't know. But if we can at least stay competitive and at least prevent a bit of a blowout here, that'd be promising. They've got 3, potentially 4 all-star players in Durant, Green, Thompson, and Curry. So it was always going to be a tough game for us. And as you see, the 20-odd point lead that they've got now, it's not been too great. But there are some promising signs coming out of this. Ingram has played okay, some good shooting there. Clarkson's had a really good game, and our bench has been a bit non-effective. I think Russell there with 4 turnovers. It's not been great. He's obviously just struggled here, and as we sort of go in, it looks like this is going to be a bit of a blowout now. But it's a game we didn't expect to win, and perhaps we might want to try and think about changing our rotation up a little bit. To perhaps give our starters even more minutes, because we just don't have that depth. I think Nance Jr. hasn't had a particularly great game, a poor shooting night from him, but he was up against Green, who has had a really good night here. As we sort of go into the fourth, we're back into 14 points. It's not been too good, but I think it's one of those games that I said we weren't expecting to win. And interestingly, we've performed okay. I think some of our players that we probably want to sort of try and keep around and try and progress with have done fairly well. Clarkson, Ingram, Gobert's done okay. Nance Jr. struggled, but he's probably in the long term not going to be our starter there. He's probably going to be a rotation piece for us. So he struggled, and obviously you can see here we lost by 16 points, with Durant grabbing 30 points, Curry grabbing 21 points. So their stars really came out and shone in that game for us in the end, which was the difference. We had 2 back-to-back terrible quarters in the second and third quarter, 15 points, 17 points. You just can't do that. You've got to perform better than that. If we look at our team stats, we didn't shoot particularly well in that second half. We obviously were chasing, so probably having to chuck it up a little bit more, try and make some plays. But that 16-point loss is disappointing. But Durant obviously is player of the game. Fantastic night for him, and it just shows how far we've got to come, guys. I mean, we've obviously got to try and improve the depth of this roster as we progress, and whether we can sneak into the playoffs will be difficult. But for us, we want to try and win that championship, and it looks like we've got a fair way to go to actually get there. For me, I think Russell's has been okay from the bench, but I'm still not convinced that he's probably going to be our long-term solution at point guard. I'll be really interested to hear what you guys think. Is it because we're just playing the wrong type of strategy for him? Is it because we need to improve his shooting ability? But the turnovers of what's been killing it for me over the period. I think even Jose Calderon, who's an experienced veteran point guard, has been sort of managing the ball a little bit better than the likes of Russell. So perhaps there's an argument there that we try and cash in on Russell and see what we can get for him towards the trade deadline. See whether we can get a big upgrade in another position. But having a look in towards January, we've got some tough games again. Utah, Portland, who are in sort of the playoff mix. New Orleans is hopefully a game we can win against. We've got to play Golden State again away, and then we've got Indiana, Miami, Houston, San Antonio, who are all playoff hunting teams. That'll be a real tough set of matchups for us. Before we sort of go in against Orlando, a game we hopefully should get a win against, and then Cleveland, LA, sort of Clippers, Washington, San Antonio, and before we finish up at Charlotte. So it's a real tough month for us coming next, and we have got several home games in there. So hopefully we'll see how we get on. But if we can stay anywhere sort of above 500, I think that would be really promising, and it'll sort of keep us in the hunt of that playoff position. Obviously, we're sort of a couple of games back now, but we'll see how we get on. Obviously, we're playing a lot of teams in that playoff hunt, so it looks like Houston have been struggling quite badly. So perhaps we can sneak a win there as well. But we'll see how we get on, and next time we'll come back and review and see how we go, looking into sort of February towards the trade deadline and the All-Star games. But as always, guys, any comments or thoughts on what we think we should perhaps be doing or looking at, just hit some comments in below, or hit that like button, and if you want to follow the series along, just hit that subscribe button.